New Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison believes that there's no doubt that he and Justin Jefferson will be the best receiving duo in the league. He's extra motivated that 3 wide receivers were taken before him in this past draft, and he describes himself as an artist with his route running. 2 things here. Number 1, this is the exact attitude that I want from wide receivers. I want you to be mad. Feel the slightest, even if it's for the dumbest stuff, all the time. I believe that extra fuel plays a big part in a quicker release off the line, sharper cuts with your route running and breaks, hell, even maybe with catching a football. There's a difference between, all right, I'm open, let me catch this, versus all you bums that didn't believe in me, watch me rip this ish. I do believe the motivation card is a bit overplayed in the sport of football, but not with receivers, and I'll even throw in cornerbacks as well. All the other positions, you need poise and discipline. Let out all that energy after the whistle is blown. Secondly, about him being an artist with his route running, which he absolutely is. He's 5'11", 173 pounds, slender frame, but at that position, that's not as important or a detriment as it was 10 or 15 years ago. Mentally, have a couple of screws loose. Physically, route running and catching the football is key. Everything else, size, vertical leap, that's a bonus. But your ability to create consistent separation with your route running and catching the football, that's all that you need. And I think that Marvin Harrison really opened up the doors to this concept at that position. And before I say what I'm about to say, yes, I understand he had Peyton Manning at quarterback, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Okay, fine. Looking at Marvin Harrison's highlight reels, when was the last time you saw him have to actually jump up and go get the football? Almost never. Small guy, but master at running his routes and great hands. So this got me to thinking. Caesar Sportsbook has Addison with the 7th best odds at being the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2023, plus 1,600 behind Bijan Robinson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jahmyr Gibbs, Anthony Richardson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Not only does Addison, in my humble opinion, have a great shot at winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, but I believe the only person standing in his way is Bijan Robinson. Bryce Young, he'll put up numbers, but outside of Jonathan Mingo, his receiving core is looking a bit rough. CJ Stroud could make things interesting depending on Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, if they make their way atop the depth chart. Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit, absolutely not. David Montgomery will take a huge bite out of his snaps. Anthony Richardson needs at least a year to sit. Who knows how much he'll play this season, if at all. Jackson Smith-Njigba to start. Will he be just the slot guy? I don't know if he's ready to take the wide receiver 2 job from Tyler Lockett along with his targets. But Jordan Addison, last year, the former wide receiver 2 for the Vikings, Adam Thielen, saw 107 targets, tied for 34th most league-wide. That's tier 1 status for wide receiver 2. And that's now going to Jordan Addison in this Vikings offense. And with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, the one thing you can't take away from him is the precision in which he throws. Thielen, with his 107 targets, turned that into 70 catches, over 700 yards, and 6 scores. And that's while struggling to create separation. You won't have that problem with Jordan Addison. Last year, Thielen, a 65% catch rate with the Vikings. Addison, last year with the Trojans, a 70% catch rate. I don't think it's out the realm of possibility for Addison to get about 900 yards and 8 or 9 touchdowns. Kirk is going to give you 4K and 30 TDs. And Justin Jefferson, as great as he is in yards and catches, has yet to put up those big touchdown numbers. They got to go somewhere. Depending on what Bijan Robinson does, Jordan Addison has a great chance of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. To me, he has the 2nd best odds. And now comments time, damn it. First one is by Dylan Knowles. Don't forget, Mac Jones looked like a stud against the Vikings defense on Thanksgiving, then looked like a clown the following week, of course. You know, I do know that my synopsis of the Vikings defense in 2022 is that they made every quarterback look great, no matter what their talent level was. But with the Patriots game, I couldn't remember off the top of my head Mac Jones. I do remember Matthew Judon. That offensive line, they didn't let him get anything at all. But Mac Jones, I was like, man, I don't quite remember. But I saw your comment, Dylan Knowles, and I said to myself, let me go back for S&Gs and look at that stat line. And Mac Jones, this is hilarious. You can't make this up. Mac Jones had his best game of the season by far against the Vikings, completing 72% of his passes, 382 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The fool in me that was so fat and happy thinking, oh my God, we're going to be one of the best defenses this league has ever seen. Maybe not has ever seen, but at least in 2022, this defense is going to kick ass with Ed Donatel, the Vic Fangio coaching tree that Ed Donatel comes from. Oh my God, I was so wrong. I'm so glad this dude is gone. Brian Flores, we are in great hands. Next comment is by Terrence Krolak. Good job, Randy. Your takes are always spot on. I wish we would have gotten more draft capital for next year to move up. Well, I know I've talked about this before, the idea of trading Kirk Cousins. It's not going to happen. He will be the starting quarterback for the Vikings in 2023. But Danielle Hunter's still there. And if you are at least thinking about the idea of trading up in next year's draft, you almost have to trade 99 because based off the Bradley Chubb deal, he will get you at least a first and a third round pick. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. Dalvin Cook, he'll get traded eventually or released, whatever. Danielle Hunter, that's the big name to look out for. And lastly, John says, I agree with Randy, but doubt the Vikings do. Mediocrity is the Vikings' business model because it works. Look at us fans. They string us along every year, break our hearts, and we keep coming back for more. Well, in fairness, let's give the previous regime, John, Mike Zimmer, and Rick Spielman, you're absolutely right. Mediocrity was the gold standard, and they accomplished it, bar none. Let's give Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell 3 to 4 years before we start making final decisions. Now, the tough moves, the tough calls, Kirk Cousins, what are you going to do with him after next year? Danielle Hunter, are you going to trade him or not? You're going to have to make those decisions eventually, whether you sit on your ass or actually make a move happen. But let's give them a shot before we say, okay, mediocrity, because that was before, maybe not necessarily now.